Alright guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about if statements, and we're going to look at the conditional tests that are declared at the beginning of every if statement. We're going to learn what they do, their uses in Python, and you're also going to see how you can get to start using them inside your own programs. If you're ready for this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when the next part of this tutorial comes out. Anyways guys, without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's talk a little bit about if statements. If statements are used to check if something is happening. Now to check that, you're going to use a conditional test. A conditional test is going to allow you to check any condition of interest. So you're going to check if something is happening, and then you can do something depending on, for example, the value of a variable, or if a function is running or not. Now for example, let's say we have 4 programming languages: HTML, PHP, Java, and JavaScript. Now let's say we want to print them in the correct cases. As you all know, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, PHP stands for PHP Hyper Processor or something. So those are abbreviations. They're supposed to be in all caps. However, when we declare a list, we use lowercase letters to prevent any unseen error or something. But let's say we need to check if it's a specific name, and then if it is, we're going to use an if statement and convert it to .title. Use the .title method to print the uppercase version of the variable. What we're going to do is we're going to check if programming language is HTML or if it's PHP. And then we're going to print the uppercase version of that. Or else we're going to print the .title version, which is going to capitalize the first letter only. So this loop checks if the current programming language is HTML or PHP, and if it is, it's uppercase, or else then it's printed in title case, which is the first letter capitalized. Now, if language is HTML, that part right there is a conditional test. Language is HTML. It's supposed to return either a true or false value, and this is called a conditional test. So if it returns true, it's going to execute the block of code under the if statement, and if it returns false, it's going to ignore the if statement, and maybe if there's an else statement, it's going to execute that. So there are so many conditional tests. We're going to be looking at them in this video. The first conditional test is the test for equality. Most conditional tests compare the current value of a variable to a specific variable of interest. If programming language is equal to our value of interest, HTML or PHP. And then if it is, you're going to do something in the if statement. But if you just run this in your Python shell, programming language double equals PHP, it's going to return true if the current programming language is PHP. Now, of course, you have to initiate the variable because you're in your shell, but it just helps you to understand what's going on. So this is evaluation of the statement that you put into it. If it returns true, it's going to execute the if statement. Now, one mistake most people make is that they use double equals instead of single. They use single equals instead of double. What am I saying? Bruh. So the thing is, you have to use double equals to check if a variable's value is the one you've provided. If it is, it's going to return true. If not, it's going to return false. However, to set a variable to a specific value, you're going to use the single equals. Once you get that straight, you're going to get way less errors when working with if statements. Another thing you have to be wary of is that Python is case sensitive. Capital PHP is different from all caps PHP. So you have to make sure that your cases are the same. That's why most people decide to store all their variables in lowercase, because it's going to minimize errors, and you can easily process it later using methods like .title, .upper, or .lower. You can also use these methods, for example, if you're checking if the variable is correct. For example, you have a user input his or her name to check if it is in a database. If the user enters a capitalized name, you're going to convert that to a specific case so that it's going to check in the database. But if you don't, it's going to say that it doesn't match, and that's not what we want. And also, using this is going to make your code even better because it's going to make processing things much easier. We know you can check if something is equal to another thing. But how do you check if programming language is not equal to PHP? Simple. You can combine an exclamation mark and an equal sign. In Python, the exclamation represents not. So when you're going to use that with an equal sign, it means not equal. Now, not double equals, only one equal, because the double equals is for something else which we're going to look at later in the tutorial. But this is to check if something is not equal to the desired string or number. Now let's move on to numerical comparisons. You can still do the same thing that you do for text comparisons, except that there are a lot more things you can check. You can check if it's equal to, you can check if it's not equal to, but then there are other additional things you can do. For example, greater than, less than, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. You can't do that with strings. You can't check if a string is greater than another, or else you're some kind of, never mind. But you get the point. You can use these operations in numbers. You can check if someone is greater than 18 or older for him to go partying, but that's the way to check it. And greater than and less than is just the HTML open and closing tags. But greater than and equals to, or equals to is going to be greater than followed by an equal sign. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's say one condition isn't enough. Let's say you are really strict and you want to check if someone's name starts with an A, ends with an underscore. Now, how to check if two keywords are true simultaneously is by using the AND keyword. What does this mean? It's going to check if both conditions are true. If language is PHP and the length of the string is 3, for example, which it is, then you're going to print or to do anything under your if block. So you can check multiple conditions using the AND keyword. But next up, we have checking if one condition is true. Let's say you don't want to check both of them. Let's say you just want to check one. Let's say you have a rule that for people to enter your store, there has to be someone with them at least 10 years old or younger. You're going to check if one of the people is at least 10 years old or younger, and then the other person can be older, no problem. So you're going to check if age for the first person is less than 10, or you're going to check if age for the second person is less than 10. If any of these evaluates are true, you're going to execute the block in the if statement. You're going to have to, instead of and, we use or. Now, instead of checking if both are true, it checks if one is true. And that's how you do that. So next, how do you check if a value is in a list? Sometimes it might be important to look for a value in a list before you do something with it. Now, to look if a particular value is in the list or not, we're going to use the in keyword. In keyword is what we use to check if a specific string or number or anything is in the requested list. And once you do this, you're going to be sure that it's there. And then inside the if block, you're going to do whatever you want with the list. Sometimes this is important, especially in recurring programs where you're constantly modifying the list and changing stuff. So you're going to be checking if something is there before you use them. We don't want to use non-existent things, do we? Alright, now same thing goes for checking whether a value is not. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use the keyword not. You're going to use not and in together. That makes sense in English, that makes sense in Python. Now that's the way you do that. And check if it's not there. Maybe you want to add an item that has the same name and you don't want to duplicate. You can just quickly check if the name is there or not. And if not, you add it. If it's already there, then it's already there. There's no need to do anything. So we've talked about all that and we've learned how to check multiple things with your conditional statements. But then let's talk about the true and false thing. Why do the if statements or the conditions when typed in a shell return either true or false? Well, this is because of Boolean expressions. As you learn about programming, you're going to come into these like you just did. Now, this is a value that is either true or false, just like the value of a conditional expression after it's been evaluated. It's used to keep track of certain conditions. For example, as we've seen in this video, it's used for if statements. If PHP is in programming languages, you do something. Now that condition is going to run and it's going to convert to either true or false. Depending on that, it's going to run the if statement. Now that is a boolean right there. So that's it for this video. We've looked at conditional tests. In the next video, we're going to continue our journey and we're going to be looking at if statements and we're going to see more about how they work. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to this channel, stay happy coding, and I'll see you in the next one.